Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Bookhardt. Come join us at our newest clinic location at Good Faith Wellness Center. We provide compassionate health care for your entire family, from virtual visits to office appointments. We're committed to providing the best care. We accept all insurances, and we provide monthly wellness plans. Let's start your family journey to a healthier, happier life. Schedule your appointment today, and remember, true wealth begins with good health. All right. Hello. Once again, welcome to another episode of Telehealth Tuesday. This is your go-to podcast for insights on modern healthcare and wellness solutions. I'm Dr. Michael Bookhardt, your host, and today we have a very special episode lined up for you. Look, and I want you all to know that Telehealth Tuesday can be viewed on multiple platforms, including our YouTube channel, Dr. B TV, and also the Good Faith Wellness Center pages on Instagram and Facebook as well. Please follow, like, share, and subscribe to help this amazing program. And look, without further ado, I want to tell you all just a little bit about my next guest, this very special guest, Dr. Andy Barlow. So let's talk about Dr. Barlow. This gentleman, he served in the Navy from 1982 to 1986 with honorable discharge. He's been in private practice in Tupelo, Mississippi since 2001. He received his doctorate in chiropractic at the Life University in Marietta, Georgia. He's a graduate of the American College of Functional Neurology and a graduate of the Carrick Institute of Functional Neurology. He's been a national and international instructor for the Barlow Brain and Body Institute, and also national and international lecturer, as well as lead U.S. instructor for the Neuro Reconnect Systems lecture for the ErgoFlex technology, and was awarded the 2017 Daily Journal Reader's Choice Award, and is the #1 best-selling author of License to Heal, What to Do When Traditional Medicine Has Failed. Also, like #1 best-selling author of Highway to Health, a roadmap to overcoming depression, anxiety, insomnia, and chronic pain, and most recently, #1 best-selling author of The Code Breaker, Unlocking the Mysteries of Health and Vitality. Whew, that's a lot. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please give a round of applause for Dr. Andy Barlow.
Thank you.
All right, how you feeling?
Great, Dr. Bookhardt. Thanks for having me on today.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
How are things up in Tupelo? Are you in Tupelo right now?
I'm in Tupelo, and everything is great up here. It was snowing a couple of weeks ago. It's been down to, believe it or not, 11 degrees at one time, and we are just not equipped for that intensity, that cold weather. We just, how it is. It's not much different than being down in Jackson. We just are not able to function in 11-degree weather with ice and snow on the ground. But that's past us now, so that's good.
Yeah, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Well, look, without further ado, look, before we get into it, let me know if I missed anything. That was quite a CV there, quite a bio. Is there anything else you want the audience to know about you and what you're working on right now?
Well, that's it. I'm actually geared up for a TEDx talk in New Albany, Ohio, which is just outside of Columbus. That's scheduled for February the 23rd. So that's on a Sunday. And then I'm also giving a seminar in Conroe, Texas, which is just outside of Houston, Texas. I think it's the 28th and February 28th and 1st. This would be on peripheral neuropathy. And you can go to Barlow Brain and Body Institute, or barlowbrainandbody.com for my seminar schedule, if anyone is interested in that.
Awesome. So, one of the questions that I wanted to ask is about chiropractic care. What would you say one of the biggest misconceptions is about chiropractic? I guess about the specialty and what you do, and how do you address that at your clinic?
Okay. And well, for me, it's kind of like if you think of it, I guess, like a general practitioner in the medical field. You have general chiropractic in the chiropractic arena, and then now just like in medicine, chiropractic has specialties, like in functional neurology, especially in radiographs, and actually in orthopedic as well. And so I went into, I've studied under the Carrick Institute and the American College of Functional Neurology. And I have to be legal. I had to be easy on the verbiage because the state board in Mississippi frowns on anybody marketing as a chiropractic doctor or anything other than being a chiropractor. So I can say that I've graduated from the Carrick Institute of Functional Neurology, that I've graduated from the American College of Functional Neurology. But if I put letters after my name, unlike medicine or nurse practitioner or any other healthcare profession, that's against the law in the state of Mississippi. I wish we could get that changed, but it's how the status quo is, so it's what it is. So, but nevertheless, I help people with in the functional medicine world, neurology world. I see patients who fly into Tupelo, or I should say Memphis, into Tupelo from all over the United States. I've seen over patients from over 16 different states coming in from a myriad of just different health problems. And one of the things that really just separates me from other healthcare professionals is just, again, my background in functional neurology. When a patient comes into my clinic, I do a 7-point brain, body, gut exam. So it doesn't, I'll give you an example. I had a lady that came in this afternoon. She had a scoliosis and right hip pain. And then after doing the exam, she's got gut health issues. She has vitiligo. She's got autoimmune thyroid, and she's got a bilateral cerebellar problem. So when we're doing finger to nose, she can't find her nose either side. When you do Romberg, she's falling over in 6 seconds. And so again, it's her chief complaint was low back and hip. But as after doing the 7-point brain body gut exam, we see that she's got other complex neurological disorders, and so we deal with that from a functional medicine standpoint. But then we also do functional medicine where we do an extensive amount of blood work. And actually, since you brought it up about my number one bestseller, this is my third. This is kind of my go-to. I'd like to think that this is my best one because I've written. You don't want to write 3 books and your third book be the worst book. You'd like to think that you've learned from the other 2, and now this is the best product that you have. But on page 66 in this book, I refer to my patients a lot when I'm doing a care plan, because I'll explain to them and say, you can go on page 66, and when we're going over gluten sensitivity, looking for casein, looking for leaky gut, intestinal permeability, looking at different health issues. Hey, Dr. Stillwell, good to see you. And as always, and so those are the things that we do. And then we also do genetic testing, MTHFR gene and multiple other genes that we look at, because again, we want to, just like I think every doctor, we just want to get the person as well as we can and as whole as we can. And that's I don't think any doctor is going to dispute that. That's really, when they wake up every morning, that's their ultimate goal, is whoever comes in is to serve that person to the best that they can. And you know what? If this person is not within my scope of practice, then we need to send them to the next healthcare professional that is that's their specialty or what they can be helped with.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's excellent, and that's good to know. I think that truly sets you apart. Another thing is, like, a lot of people think chiropractors only crack backs. What's some of the science behind what you do and how that impacts the person?
Yeah, and again, just I can appreciate when people think that way, and so it's kind of like you thinking if you just go to the dentist, you're going to get your teeth cleaned, or you're just going to go to the dentist and you're going to get a tooth pulled. Man, they're doing all kind of advanced things that 20 years ago were just completely unheard of. And that's the same thing in any healthcare field. Is I would like to think, just like in medicine, chiropractic, and dentistry or whatever, I would like to think that we look back 20 years ago and learn from it, but we're still not in that 20 years ago mode, you know, and because research has advanced, therapies have advanced, but the adjustment, what it does to the human body is we have in our muscles, we have muscle spindles, and those receptors, along with Golgi tendon organs, those are some of the fastest afferent pathways that we have in our body. So
Mhm.
these neurological pathways, if they're aberrantly firing, there's a lot of things that can happen. Like number one is it can cause pain because these large diameter afferents, their job is to inhibit pain at the spinal cord level. And then when they're stimulated appropriately, they inhibit pain. And then these neurological pathways ascend through the spinal cord into the cerebellum and contralateral brain. So when these neurological pathways are stimulated appropriately, then this can create neuroplasticity so that the nervous system actually communicates better with itself and functions better. And the way I explain it to patients in that, think of, their nervous system is kind of like a gravel road. And what we're doing is we're just paving, asphalt over it, a blacktop, so that it runs smoother and you can go faster, and if you will. And so that's what we want to do with chiropractic. And I think it's just that, the popping of the neck or cracking the back.
Mm.
And again, I don't do that with all of my patients because, again, if you have, let's just say, for example, you have a 80-year-old deconditioned female that comes in the clinic. I mean, we're not going to, that makes me cracking her back or neck makes about as much sense as me putting her on going to the gym and putting her on the bench and telling her to bench press 245 pounds. That's just unrealistic. So again, today we have different therapies: lasers, decompression, electrical stimulation, and I use all of these therapies in my clinic. I have a multitude of therapies that I use because not every person that comes in the clinic will need the exact same therapy. So that would be the benefit of chiropractic care, with just basically adjusting the spine, treating the muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs, and then as getting my graduating from the Carrick Institute, we also do a lot of brain-based therapy, a lot of cerebellar rehab, and vagal nerve stimulation, those kind of things to help our parasympathetic nervous system function as well as it can. I mean, as well as I do. Some people come in so deconditioned, all we can do is just hope to move the needle. And some people, and then other people, you can really get a total change in their life. So that's without rambling on too much. And I guess the thing I'd want to say is that the whole part of the adjustment is to reconnect the way the brain communicates with the body and
Mm.
to decrease pain and increase mobility. That would be, if somebody asked me, what's your one line, or, your elevator speech, in 10 seconds, that would be it.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. We appreciate that. Looks like Linda, Linda Anderson says, hi, Dr. Barlow, JT, and I are here.
Okay. Well, hey, Linda. Hey, JT. Good to see you guys.
Um, so, that's one of the things. So when it comes to chiropractic care and treatment of chronic conditions, because, there are so many people out in the world, but especially right here in Mississippi, so
Mhm.
many folks that have chronic conditions, whether it's chronic pain syndrome. And even though I personally, I have my thoughts on, you know, fibromyalgia, but they're including that as a diagnosis. So when it
Mhm.
comes to people with fibromyalgia, chronic low back pain, and painful neuropathy, just like my mother was in our clinic earlier today, and Dr. Stidwell was seeing her.
Mhm.
People that are suffering from that, what do you feel like chiropractic care can do to help those patients?
Okay. Well, I can say from that's my forte. That's what I do for a living, is help those people. And so, just to say from a neuropathy standpoint, is that the part of the problem I see with doctors sometimes is let me give you an example. I have patients that come in with neuropathy and they may do a nerve conduction study. Nerve conduction study comes back negative, and but yet the patient has numbness and tingling and burning in pins and needles. So what I have to explain to them is what this test means is you just don't have enough nerve degradation and breakdown to
Mhm.
actually detect, on this machine. So, and the machine, the nerve conduction velocity study. It's more pathological. It's you've damaged enough nerve tissue that there's actually a name for it now. And so, but see, I have people that come in with neuropathy that they're like, they stuck all these needles in me and everything, said everything was fine. And so one of the major drivers for like uh, neuropathy, of course, and I know and all healthcare professionals know, is going to be blood sugar dysregulation.
Absolutely.
Another driver for this is going to be gluten sensitivity, and I'll be speaking about this at my when I do the TEDx talk about gluten sensitivity. And the special what I'm going to be speaking on is actually metabolic syndrome. With gluten sensitivity, I've tested hundreds. I can conservatively say hundreds upon hundreds of patients for gluten sensitivity. I've only had three that did not have a gluten gene or a celiac gene. And if you look at the scientific studies on this, there's over 300 symptoms, syndromes, and diseases, and peripheral neuropathy is one of those symptoms and diseases with that's linked to gluten sensitivity to peripheral neuropathy. And see if we don't make diet and lifestyle changes with patients, because it just drives me up a wall, and I know it does you the same way. Is when patients come in with, like, for example, uh, peripheral neuropathy, their blood sugars through the roof, and then their healthcare professionals like, you need to make some lifestyle changes. But then they don't go to the next step and tell them what those lifestyle changes are. Like stop eating uh, fast food, stop eating processed food, stop eating fried food, stop drinking sweet tea, stop drinking sodas. Those types of things. Stop eating wheat, and we're going to run tests on you to prove to you that you actually have this gluten sensitivity. And so that would be one of the things that we look at. Also, inflammation. Anemia. Uh, we want to look at to see if a person has any type of iron deficiency anemia, B12 anemia. We also look at autoimmune disorders because there's this. We do Cyrex testing in our clinic, which are blood tests, and these tests look for leaky gut syndrome. Leaky gut is an inflammatory process in which we get undigested food particles uh, that transverse the intestinal barrier that gets into our bloodstream that can lead to inflammation. And it also is the gateway to autoimmune disorders. And in my third book, I actually quote the study on that. And so, so these inflammatory processes, gluten sensitivity, attacking the myelin sheath, leading to peripheral neuropathy, and so we Cyrex array number 5 also tests for uh, a myelin-based protein to see if any of the white matter in your nervous system is damaged. And so if we have an autoimmune disorder to that, one thing that I would also say is that with peripheral neuropathy, most doctors neglect to ask the patient about sexual wellness when it comes to peripheral neuropathy. So
Good
there's
point. Good point.
brain, yeah, from a brain based standpoint, they're linked together because if you look at the hemispheres, right brain, left brain, and then this parasagittal space if you just look at the homunculus and the way the homuncular map is set up, the genitalia is at the inferior aspect of this parasagittal space, and right next to that, if you look at it, are your feet. So when a person has decreased oxygen level, decreased stimulation in the feet, decreased blood flow in the feet, okay, then I'm going to ask them, tell me about your sexual wellness, because there's a link between neuropathy and this numbness and tingling and sexual wellness issues, both for male and female. And and so that's one of the benefits of, I guess you would say, knowing functional neurology and communicating that to people, because it's like my feet and my genitalia, what's that got to do with each other? Well, if you understand neurology and the way they're next door neighbors in the brain through the homunculus map, you can actually explain that and convey that to them. Of course, you'll need to do a Google. I've got a big TV screen that I get on the internet and show them if I need to on that, so they can see the correlation between the two. Uh,
Mm,
Also, a big driver is metabolic syndrome that's just completely overlooked. And
absolutely.
you got metabolic syndrome that's and the characteristic of it is 5 interconnected risk factors. And so if you have 3 of those, you have metabolic syndrome. The 5 risk factors are going to be obesity, hypertension, blood sugar dysregulation, high triglycerides and low HDL, and you need 3 of those. Now, the amazing thing, it just blew my mind when I was looking up this research, but 84% of Americans have metabolic syndrome, and 88% of Americans carry at least one of those metabolic triggers, meaning that 88% of Americans are actually metabolically unhealthy. And another way of saying that is only 12% of Americans are metabolically healthy. So, and with it being peripheral neuropathy, those neurological pathways, those large diameter afferent myelinated pathways, they travel at 268 miles an hour from your feet up to your brain. So with them traveling that fast, if any blood sugar is dysregulated, if they have any type of anemia, we don't stimulate the pathways, or any type of inflammatory cascade, those nerves are going to be one of the first nerves that's going to be damaged just simply because of the speed. And the analogy that I use with my patients is think of a NASCAR. You know, I've got a Kawasaki, what's called a Kawasaki Mule. It's a little side by side on, it's ATV, I guess you would call it. The top speed on it is 25 miles an hour. Okay, so that thing doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be tight as tightly, uh, choreographed, if you would, as NASCAR. So, and see, the faster things go, the more everything needs to be in line, if you will, from a blood glucose, anemia, inflammation. And the way I explain it too at my seminars, from a neuron theory standpoint, is when it comes to chronic inflammation. This is one of the, chronic inflammation destroys everything it touches in the human body. And so acute inflammation is healthy for you. It helps you heal, but chronic destroys everything it touches. So I came up with an acronym that's called AEIOFU for all of these, not all, but inflammatory processes that actually can damage the nervous system. Like number 1, A would be autoimmune disorder. And we can actually test these autoimmune inflammatory processes on Cyrex array number 5 to screen for 24 different inflammatory autoimmune processes. I is going to be for infections, and this is where I would need to refer a patient out for a nurse practitioner or medical doctor. We do a Cyrex array number 12, and sometimes we come back with, I've even had to send my patients out for a dentist because of bacteria in the mouth, or for gingivalis, Streptococcus mutans. You got H. pylori in the gut. So again, those aren't within my scope of practice, so I refer those people out. But this can lead to this inflammatory infectious process can lead to chronic inflammation. Environmental toxins, we test for our environmental toxins, oxidative stress. All of these unravel the mitochondria, and then it also has to do with the food that we eat. And this is what I tell people all the time: if you can control what you put in your mouth, and if you can control what you put in your mind, and you move your body, it will change your life.
Did y'all hear that? Ladies and gentlemen, if you control what you put in your mouth and you control what is in your mind, that can have a drastic effect on your body. I really appreciate that, Dr. Barlow. I got a few things on. Maybe we can get through a few more of these questions.
Okay.
But I appreciate those details.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm gonna do a little rapid fire on you here.
All right.
And look, ladies and gentlemen, I know we've had a few comments, but just so you all know, look, I know he's going to do the TED Talk, but this is fully interactive. If anybody out there has any questions, I know that there's some people out there that have chronic pain, that have neuropathy, that are overweight, that definitely have metabolic syndrome in Mississippi.
Yep.
So please don't forget, this is live, and we are here to answer your questions.
And
Answer.
Lily had a question that says, "How do you get rid of body inflammation?" Okay.
There you go. Yep, that's my mom.
That's your mom. Okay. All right. So Lily, welcome to the podcast. And what I would say is, number 1, we need to get just some basic lab work done. And because if your blood sugar is dysregulated now, and Dr. Bookhardt, with one of the things that's important for a patient to understand is that 40% of Americans have pre-diabetes, which is insulin resistant. So for lay people, I'm sorry, I was thinking that there were all doctors on here, so please forgive me.
Oh, no. That's why I was saying, listen, I want to make.
Okay, let's tone it down a little bit. I'm sorry. I didn't mean, and so uh, I apologize about that to everybody. So, all right. So, your blood sugar, fasting plasma blood glucose, which is on your lab panel, should be between 85 and 99. So it's real simple. If you're in the triple digits, there's a problem, and the higher that number, the more damage it's going to cause to your body.
Absolutely.
And the hard part for people to get, and I know Dr. Bookhardt has to deal with it every day, is type 2 diabetes. This is what people don't want to hear. It is a self-inflicted wound. We do that to ourselves because, again, what we put in this mouth right here. And this is why I tell patients, and I'm going to get to your inflammation in just a second, but one of the best things I could recommend for people to do is just make a commitment to eating 5 to 7 salads a week. Okay. And so I can give a whole list of things that we need to stop doing and start doing, but just simply, make a commitment every night for dinner. We're going to have a salad, and we're going to put olive oil, and then like balsamic vinegar on it. Okay. Just a powerful antioxidant, and helps the body heal. And then with inflammation, again, with 40% of Americans having blood sugar dysregulation, this actually, what it's going to do is, I'm going to act like this is inside of a capillary bed, which is where your blood flows. Inside of that inner circle right there, that is there. That inner part, the tunica intima, is just the name of it, and it produces nitric oxide. Now, what does that mean in English? When you have blood sugar dysregulation, it affects this nitric oxide balance, and their feet become cold. They can become discolored because we can't get blood flow into our feet, which is leading to the cause of that would be blood sugar too high, leading to inflammation. So one of the first things I look at with a patient is their blood sugar. Okay, one of the best things that you can do for inflammation is get your blood sugar under control, and then stop. Here we go. We got to stop eating fast foods. Okay, we got to stop eating processed foods. What I tell my patients, I'm not telling everybody here anything any different than I tell my patients, but and these are all toxins that I'm talking about. Fast food is toxic to the human body. Processed food is toxic to the human body. And so if you just have to put that toxin in your body from a processed food standpoint, meaning a bag or a box, here's the rule I have with my patient. Number one, it's got to say gluten-free on the outside of the box, and it can't have more than 4 ingredients. So if it has more than 4, it stays in the store. So gluten-free, more than 4 stays in the store. Stop drinking sweet tea. Again, sweet tea, that's the
Watch out now.
It's diabetes in a glass. We all know that. And we know it as healthcare professionals, but we got to stop drinking sodas. And see, Dr. Bookhardt, as I have to tell patients, is if I start drinking sodas today, okay, because of those empty calories that are in that soda, I will gain 15 pounds of body fat in 1 year from 1 can of soda a day.
1 can of soda.
15. See what I'm saying? Where you control what you put in here, you control what you put in here, and if you will move your body, it will change your life. Now, another caveat to this is in the late 1970s and early 80s, the soda company started adding high fructose corn syrup to sodas. And this is one of the leading causes of non-alcoholic fatty liver in the human body. And what's amazing about this non-alcoholic fatty liver is this wasn't even a thing in America until 1984. And they started looking at why are people coming in? Doctors didn't even believe it. They just thought these people were alcoholics. And because they were like, how much alcohol do you drink? And they're like, I've never drank in my life. And they're like, that can't happen because you have fatty liver. And they're like, I swear. So, and then they discovered that it was the sodas that was linked to the non-alcoholic fatty liver through high fructose corn syrup, because the liver is one of the few organs in the body that can actually break down fructose. So So just literally just those things, and then a couple of things that you could do, and and you'd have to talk to Dr. Bookhardt about, if you're on blood thinners, but I would recommend, if you're not, then fish oil is very powerful for inflammation. Turmeric is I recommend that to my patient. Reversal, and so here's one of the important aspects of this. With turmeric and Reversal, I don't know about Reversal, but I know turmeric, you can take that in a pill form. But here's the amazing thing: if you take the turmeric, I'm sorry, if you take the turmeric in the liquid form, it's 4 times more potent than if you take it in the pill form. And if you combined the Reversal and turmeric together, it's 7 times more effective. So it has a cumulative effect, is what I'm trying to say. It's a compounding interest effect. If you
No, I'm sorry. What was that first? We tell the patients about the turmeric tumor, but
turmeric
the other one, the other
is Reversal. I'll email it to you later on if you want me to.
parasol.
Reversal, it starts with an R, Reversal.
Okay.
And so those two in combination is what we recommend with our patients. And in its liquid form, and it actually tastes pretty good. If you actually look up Apex Energetics, you can Google that, Apex Energetics, and then turmeric and Reversal. It would just pop up. I have an account with them, so we buy 99% of our supplements through them. And so that would be, Lily, the thing that I would recommend to just to stop doing those few things that I asked, and then let's get on some supplements to really drive that inflammation down. And just remember, I can't say this enough: chronic inflammation destroys everything it touches. And so if it's nerve damage, if it's joint pain, cerebellum, where we start to get these balance issues, or brain fog. And again, I just want to say this real quick, because this brain fog and Alzheimer's is getting out of control in America. And
terrible.
Yeah, and so what actually right now, it's the 6th leading cause of death in America, and so and it's actually expected to triple in the next 25 years. The amazing thing about this, Dr. Bookhardt, is all the way back in 1901 is when the first patient in Germany. Now this is in Germany, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the gentleman that named it, his last name was Alzheimer's. That's where the name came from. And if we fast forward in the United States now, just remember, in 1901, the first patient in Germany was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and now there's I forget the number. I think it's like 3.8 million people that are diagnosed in America with. And don't quote me to the exact number, but people can look it up today, and it's just the number is staggering. In like 124 years, that it's gone from one person to millions of people in the United States. It's going to double in 2025. Now,
6.9 million now. I'm sorry.
And here's the key component to this. There are 7 stages to Alzheimer's. And I'm going to go through the Mississippi E's with everybody, because you can go to the Alzheimer's. You know how it is. You can go Google stuff, and next thing you know, you're more confused than you did before you
Absolutely.
And so I'm going to give everybody the Mississippi E's version, and then you can go on. Lily, good to see you. Thank you so much. And you have a beautiful mom, by the way, but you already know that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And so we have 7 stages to Alzheimer's. You can actually Google this if you would like, through the Alzheimer's Association. But the level we want to stay in all of our life is Linda, thank you very much. The level we want to stay in all of our life is level 1, which is no cognitive impairment. Now, here's the part that's important. The very first stage of neurodegeneration, stage 2, is brain fog, where we start to have focus, attention, and concentration issues. Now, not to get too in depth with this, but here in our frontal lobe, your frontal lobe needs a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, and I'm not going to get much deeper than that.
Yeah.
But in order for us to pay attention and focus, we have to have that neurotransmitter in our brain. And we get that through our diet, really. And see, blood sugar messes that up, inflammation messes that up. So that's our second stage. And then we move into stage 3, which a simple analogy to that would be a person walks into a room and they forget why they walk in, or they call somebody on the phone and they forget what they called them, or they're in conversation and they forget what they're talking about. And I have literally, Dr. Bookhardt, I've had people in my clinic in their 40s that this happens to, and
Yeah.
they already know it. They're in conversation and they completely forget what they're talking about. Now, this is stage 3 of Alzheimer's. We're starting to get into that. We're losing our memory and that mild cognitive impairment, which, as Dr. Bredesen, which is a medical neurologist, he's one of the leading experts in Alzheimer's. I've taken a lot of his courses. He said saying that somebody has mild cognitive impairment is like saying you have mild metastatic cancer. It makes absolutely no sense because
Right.
your brain is already deteriorating. Then stage 4, it happens on a regular basis. Stage 5 is when you actually start having to, let's see. Yes, and the answer to that is, Ms. Baker, yes, turmeric really benefits, has a huge benefit for inflammation on the brain as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, stage 5 is when people actually need assistance, like with bathing, brushing their teeth, clothing. That's stage 5. Stage 6 is when you need constant care, and then stage 7 is when people are in an assisted living. But the point I want to make here is, if you're having brain fog, that's when the problem needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be addressed when you're putting your shirt in, on backwards, or your pants inside out. That's too late. At that point, there's so much neurodegeneration that you can't come back from that.
Absolutely.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject real quick to Miss Linda here. So glad you joined on. And look, I'm appreciative for all the new people who are attending and following us now. And I just want everybody to know, just a quick pause for the cause, Doc, that we do this every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Now, look, we're going to be gearing up. We're going to be changing some things around for possible sponsorships. But before, we would say we had sponsored, but really, so right now, this is just basically a free program that we're putting on just to help citizens here in Jackson and abroad and around the state of Mississippi. And we've started having some people that are following us that are outside the state. And so I just wanted you. I see Linda. That's a new name I don't recognize. We appreciate seeing all of our regulars on here, and that was a great question, Ms. Baker. But we are here every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And so, look, if you guys feel like you've gotten something from this already, which I know I have even personally, if you've enjoyed this and you are truly benefiting from this information, then you've got to come on back next Tuesday and subscribe, okay, to Dr. B TV, and I'll tell you about my next guest when little bit later on, but you don't want to miss this next guy. But let's get back to Dr. Barlow. But look, anybody who has questions, this is great information. So ask your questions now. We're here for you. Take it away, Dr. Barlow.
Right. Well, I mean, well, thank you, Dr. Bookhardt, and just things like depression, anxiety. These are things that that there's absolutely no reason why people need to suffer with these things. And all of these have metabolic drivers associated with them. And so that's why in my clinic, that's why I do metabolic care. We look at blood work, we look at genetics, and then we just address the person according to their blood chemistry and their genetic makeup. And the reason I love that is because it's the detective work behind it. And it's the mystery of, that's why I wrote my third book, The Code Breakers, because everybody has a specific code, or codes. I should use it plural, because nobody has, when you have chronic diseases, nobody has just one root cause. There's multiple root causes, sometimes 30, 40, and 50 root causes. And that's why this human being is suffering, is because everybody's looking for that one trigger, that one cause, and it's just not there. I'll give you one example. I had a lady come into my clinic because I market myself as a gut health expert, and she calls my clinic and says, "Hey, I got checked. My doctor checked me for SIBO, that's small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. What this means in English is your bacterial colony should be in your large intestines, and it had if it's unhealthy, it can back up into your small intestines, into your stomach. So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It means that bacteria is where it's not supposed to be, and that can lead to a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said I can appreciate that, but did he also test you for IBS? Did he test you for Crohn's? Did he test you for um, leaky gut syndrome? And she's like, no, it's just he just found that one thing and thought that was it. So see, in our clinic, we test for all of those. We test for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut, Crohn's, all of these gut health issues if somebody has this problem. So again, I just want to say that there's never going to be one driver that's causing these chronic health issues. And so if we can get kind of off the one cause, one cure kind of thing, we start looking at this as there's multiple drivers causing these debilitating health issues, then we can actually get into solving problems instead of just trying to treat it with with a drug, or just I'm going to go to the chiropractor and get adjusted and it's just going to fix everything, or I'm going to go to the health food store and I'm going to get a prescription. I'm sorry, not a prescription, but a nutraceutical. And then you end up with what I call in my third book, the two bagger. You got a person coming into my clinic with the bag of drugs in one hand and a bag of supplements in the other, and not one of them doing much of anything. and so
Yeah.
that's where the blood work and the genetic testing comes in, because it allows us to specifically home in on what areas are you deficient in and what do you exactly need according to your blood chemistry and according to your genetics. And it's probably not two bags of one bag of prescriptions and one bag of nutraceuticals, more than likely.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to just quickly switch gears and talk about a couple things. When it comes to pinched nerves, as we say,
Mhm.
in layman's terms, spinal stenosis. So, for those of you out there, when we talk about neuropathy, pinched nerves causing terrible pain, one of the questions was, it's kind of a two-part question. Is there truly a long-term solution for people with that spinal stenosis or pinched nerves? And then also, when people have a misaligned spine, um, how does that, I guess, basically work? When it comes with with respect to your mood, your energy, and your immune function. So, two-part question: the spine, how does that align? With your mood, energy, and immune function, and then spinal stenosis. Are there
Okay.
any long-term type of
So let's
consequences?
start with the spinal stenosis first. And so one of the things that a patient would have to know is if they have stenosis, according to the level of stenosis, they're probably going to have to do some type of therapy, either in the chiropractic clinic, physical therapy clinic, somewhere. There's going to have to be some level of active therapy for the rest of their life, because of that stenosis. So stenosis means you've got this hole, and between that hole there's a nerve, and if that hole closes off too much, then it damages the nerve and it sends what is called radiating pain down your leg. So what we have, just think of this. Of course, the hole's not this big; it's teeny tiny. But we have a decompression unit called Back on Track, and what this does, if this stenosis is real low here, and think of a nerve or I guess a water hose going through this, and then when we do this decompression, it actually opens that space up. And then we also use laser. We also do PRP therapy with our medical doctor that does the injection in that area to regenerate the the basically the area. And so, but I think a patient has to, from my more than ethical obligation, if somebody came in with stenosis that was severe, I would have to say you're going to have to get your head wrapped around that this is going to be, you're going to have to do some type of therapy for the rest of your life to help with this. So that would be stenosis. Now, just so that people know, there's two types. Well, there's more than two, but we'll talk about the simple part about two types of nerve pain. One is where if you point to your back, and I'm sitting in a chair, but if you point to your back and you say, "Ooh, it goes down my leg," okay, that's going to be more like a stenotic or stenosis pinched nerve kind of thing. Now,
Mhm.
if you say that the problem starts in my feet and it goes up my leg, that's a metabolic disorder. That's a metabolic problem. Now, some people can have both. I just had one of my doctors that I coach. Patient has pain going down the leg and pain coming up the leg. So He's had surgery, so the nerve is damaged going down the leg, and then the metabolic driver is coming up the leg. So, simply stated, if your problem is in your feet and it's coming up your leg, that's going to be a metabolic issue, meaning blood sugar, inflammation, those kind of health issues that we have to address. If it's going down your leg, then that's more of a spine problem. Now, is that would that suffice with what we need to know on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then and then we talk about spinal misalignment. Okay, now in chiropractic, we have a name for that, and it's called a subluxation or a misaligned spine. The line that's a spine that's out of alignment. Now, we've over the decades and over a century have gotten some heat from the medical community for that word, and I think Dr. Bookhardt, you can attest to that. With but it's just the way I kind of explain it to people is like this. Okay, if you say out of bounds, just use the term out of bounds in football. Out of bounds means a completely different thing in basketball. Okay, it's the same. It's the same word. It's the same verbiage. It just means a completely different thing. So subluxation in medicine is a spine that's literally just misaligned. The segments have moved out of position,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can see it on X-ray or MRI, those kind of things. And in chiropractic, what we're talking about is with a subluxation is when a spine is actually moved from its optimal position. So if we are just think of your car, if it's out of alignment. So your car your alignment of your car is actually made up of hard wiring. It's steel, it's aluminum, and then on the end of that alignment you have tires that are soft. So if your car is out of alignment, what you're going to wear out is going to be the soft part. In the same way in the spine, when your spine's out of alignment, it's just purely a physics problem, and it's time and matter and force. And over time, the soft tissue, meaning your disc spaces, your ligament, your tendons, they're going to degrade. They're going to degenerate faster, and then this out of alignment means that I'm going to get pain. I'm going to have stiffness. And one of the ways you can tell it's not an absolute, and we know there's hardly anything that's an absolute in healthcare, but
That's
we can
right.
say with pretty good certainty that if you have arthritis, one of the ways to tell is when you say, I get up in the morning and I'm stiff, but as I start to move, I actually start to feel better. Those are more signs of arthritis and stiffness. And then again, this is where, like in my clinic, I have a pulsed electromagnetic field therapy that helps recharge and regenerate the cells in the body. I have laser therapy that dilates the capillary beds or blood flow, decreases inflammation. I have a ErgoFlex back on track to decompress the spine. So there's a lot of therapeutic modalities that we can do to help people with a misaligned spine or a stenosis where the holes are closing off too much.
Awesome. Awesome. So, one of the other things is a lot of people, they turn to painkillers as their kind of thing. I know that my mother's one of those, unfortunately. So, a lot of people who are taking Norco, which is hydrocodone and Tylenol, or Percocet, which is oxycodone and Tylenol, and
Mhm.
they're using that. And so it's causing them to be just so tired, sometimes
Right.
depressed,
Right.
sometimes really constipated. And
Mhm.
so, do you feel like when would chiropractic care be maybe a better adjunct therapy, or even maybe more first line? And then when
Well,
you refer them more so for therapy? How do
right.
you?
And I think too, when I talk about this in my third book, is that the one of the things that we really are lacking in our healthcare field in America is just the miscommunication between professions. You know, and
Absolutely.
and if we're really here to serve the patient, we should be able to check our ego at the door and say,
Absolutely.
here's how far I can take you, but I need to refer you to Dr. Bookhardt because he has an area of specialty that I just don't have. And and patients respect that. And so, see, where we would refer people back and forth,
Hmm.
uh, other doctors just want to kind of, this is my patient. I don't want anybody else touching them.
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
mindset. And so, in this situation, I just have to fall back again on looking at a patient's blood work, looking at their metabolic drivers that are causing this inflammation, this chronic pain, this depression, this anxiety. So, and again, see, this is where you and I, or you, me, and another doctor, or you and another chiropractor, would work together because your area of specialty would be administering the right medication. And then my area of specialty would be, which we would see, we would cross react there because of blood work and metabolic care.
Right.
But the likelihood you probably don't have uh, a background in spinal adjustments. So see, that's not your forte. And so that's where I would come in, or Dr. Sophronia would come in for adjustments. And again, it's firing up the brain, because what happens when we don't move properly. Okay, that's one of the best ways to degenerate a brain. And research shows that, like, for example, if you have a degenerated knee and it's almost bone on bone, the part of your brain that represents that bone on bone knee, your brain is degenerated at the same level that knee is. And so it's not just your knee that's suffering that, it's your brain that's suffering that as well. So, and then when you can't walk and you can't move and you're stiff, then we can exercise and create our healthy brain. So the adjusting the spine and getting the muscle spindle activation, and again activating the cerebellum and brain, because when we slow our brain down, we also slow down this what's called the vagus nerve, and there's a correlation. Let me get my second book out here, and that's where this book comes in: Highway to Health: Overcoming Depression, Anxiety, Insomnia Through the Gut-Brain Connection, because the brain and the gut are intimately. Again, I know the brain's up here and the gut's down here, but the point is, neurologically, they're linked together, and the same neurotransmitters, the nerve signals that are in your gut, you actually have those same neurotransmitters in your brain. So anything that you do that affects this will negatively affect your gut. And that's why eating is so important, because anything that you do that negatively impacts your gut slows down your gut constipation. You're going to slow down your brain as well. I haven't had anybody with chronic constipation that didn't suffer with sleep apnea, with depression, with anxiety, because again, see, those two are directly related to one another. You slow one down, you slow the other one down.
I hope our listeners are listening. One in particular who I've told that multiple times, Dr. Barlow, about being constipated and
Mm-hmm.
taking these medicine, these narcotics. But we'll move on. We've got a question from Jasmine here. Jasmine is up now. Look, Jasmine is a lymphatic drainage specialist and massage therapist. She's always going to find a way to link something back to that lymphatic massage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jasmine says, are manual lymphatic drainage treatments beneficial to help manage pain with body work and adjustments?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that's where I think healthcare, again, I'll just reiterate, has failed the public in general. Is instead of us working together, okay, it's like everybody's in their own little circle, their own little world over here. And I don't know if it's ego, I don't know what it is, but it's just, I don't have a problem referring people out to any healthcare professional. I have to, because again, it's like I said, I do certain metabolic testing. And, I have some people that come back that have dental amalgam that comes back positive. I have to send them out to a holistic dentist. I can't do anything about that, you know. So, if patients have bacteria in their mouth, I have to send them out to a dentist, because again, that's not my area specialty. I ran a test, this came back positive, and we're going to have to send you out to somebody that knows that's what they do. And so the same thing with Jasmine, is, I don't know where Jasmine is, but maybe, you and I and her, maybe we need to go to lunch together one day and say, hey, how can we assist each other in improving, our business, and improving the overall health and wellness of people, in Mississippi.
Yes,
Well, you know as well as I do, unless everybody here has been under a rock, that in the state of Mississippi, we're like, one of the, if not the only, we're ranked number one in the unhealthiest state in the union. So
absolutely.
we got a lot of improvement to do there. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, Jasmine is she's here in Jackson, and like I say, I guess a shameless plug for Telehealth Tuesday. We did episode several weeks ago. She was on there with Dr. North, who's a young, very amazing plastic surgeon, And so he does a lot of the, BBLs, a lot of cosmetic stuff that a lot of people are, that's very popular today. And so it was the same thing. They were talking about combining services because, of course, after he does certain procedures, then they need the lymphatic drainage. Couple more questions here. So just, I know we're getting late on time. So what about with chronic? This is another big one here. It's in America, especially. Chronic stress is such a major issue
Right.
today. Can chiropractic care, do you feel like that it can help with chronic stress and anxiety? And, how does that work?
Okay. And the answer is yes, we can help with that. Okay. Now, with chronic stress, and I tell this to people all the time, this right here is one of the major drivers of chronic stress. It's
Absolutely.
getting on social media, looking at stuff, and so what chronic stress does, it actually activates cortisol, uh, and cortisol, it actually increases our sympathetic nervous system, which means it can cause our heart to race more, it can cause our digestion to slow down, and then also cortisol, if it's too high, like and we're it's almost 8 o'clock at night, so right now, see, our cortisol level should be dropping so we can go to sleep. And if you're under, chronic stress, this cortisol level is kind of like waking you up at night, or you don't go to sleep, or you have problems staying asleep. Also, cortisol packs on the weight because it causes you to absorb fat with chronic stress. So here's one of the simplest things to do. As I tell patients, just like what you need to do is to help with this is you can go home. When you go home, if you're going to use your iPhone, just go on YouTube and get some nature sounds. Okay, so put your headphones on, nature sound like wind blowing through the trees, water, raining on a tin roof or something, waves coming in on the ocean, and then we need to do deep breathing exercises. So, like for example, the magic here is 1 to 2 ratio. So we want to breathe in for 1 second and out for 2. So we would want to start with listening to this mellow nature sound, which is going to lower our stress level, chronic stress. Do these deep breathing exercises where we breathe in for 4 seconds and then out for 8. And then we can, after about a week, we can titrate up and we can do 6 in and 12 out, but then we'd hit our magic number. That would be 8 seconds in and 12 out. So that would be one thing for chronic stress. But one of the drivers with chronic stress too leads to chronic pain. So again, with adjusting the
Mhm.
adjusting the spine, and then lowering the threshold of that pain level is going to help out tremendously with that. So, and again, it's from my standpoint, we don't just do the adjustments. We kind of like with Jasmine, where she's going to go back to the lymphatic drainage. I'm always going to go back to well, I'm going to go back to we've got to look at the metabolic aspect of care, and we got to look at the genetic aspect of care. So we want to make that perfect kind of triangle, if you would, metabolic care, uh, uh, regenerative care, which we use PRP, and then gene therapy care, and we kind of link all of those together to serve the patient at the highest level possible. And so that's where the chronic stress would come in.
Absolutely. And one other question, since you brought up the cell phones, there's so much stress on the cervical spine, and folks are always looking down at the phone.
Yep.
Are there treatment modalities you can, well, I guess I would say more so, what's the harm in that with years and years of time looking down at the phone, and do you see those patients, and can
Yeah.
you help?
Okay. So you're okay. So let's just talk about what optimal is. When a person is standing up, your ear should be over your shoulder and your shoulder should be over your hips. Okay. If you had a plumb line, if you would. So ear over shoulder, shoulder over hip. Now, our posture and our gait, the way we move, is a direct reflection of our brain function. And the sad part is when we start to lose this brain function, like for example, dementia, Alzheimer's, when we lose this frontal lobe, we start to go into this forward posture. So see, when we're doing this all day, okay, we're inducing that stress response. Okay, think about it like this: when you see a boxer or you see MMA, how do they're flexed forward and their hands are up and they're flexed forward. And see, we're emulating that stress, that chronic stress, that sympathetic nervous system. we're introducing that into our nervous system and into our brain because we're in that flex posture. So again, when you have flex posture, that means low brain function. So if you're on a computer, let's keep the computer up. If you need to, one thing that can help to countermand that or counteract it would be just something simple as if you're on your bed in the morning or in the afternoon, just lay your head over the edge of the bed so we can go into extension. And whenever we go into extension, bring our arms back. So what we're doing is we're actually stretching these front muscles here because what happens is when we go into chronic stress or lose our brain function, we start to round our shoulders, head goes forward, and we start to flex forward. And so you imagine what this does to your lung capacity. So we're not able to get adequate oxygen in, and your brain has got to have oxygen. Your neurons have to have oxygen to function at their peak level. So it's kind of like a little hamster wheel. That hamster's running wide open, and we're all flexed forward like this. So let's try to get into extension. Let's lay our head back. Let's get our shoulders back. Let's stretch these what's called the anterior muscles in our spine here, the scalenes, the SCM muscles, your pec muscles. If we can just extend back, and then if you want to do it at the same time, put on some again nature music and do your deep breathing exercises.
Awesome, awesome, man. That was amazing. I don't know about you guys, but that was a truly amazing Telehealth Tuesday, and we want to thank you, Dr. Barlow, for everything that you have
Thank you.
brought onto this episode. We truly appreciate it. Tell us again, before we go, tell us what you're working on these days. We know you've got the 3 books. The most recent is the
Okay.
Code.
Yep.
So tell us about what you're working on in the TED
Yep.
Talk and all that, please.
All right. So this is my. You can go online and order my the Code Breaker on Amazon. And at the end of each chapter, I have a little section there that says, "Hey, if you'd like to know more information, go to the Code Breaker online." And actually, what I have is about a 20-minute video of each chapter in my book, explaining it in lay person talk. I'm not talking doctor talk. You know how it is with doctor to be effective. We have to be bilingual. We have to study academia, but we can't take that in the clinic. We've got to be able to talk. I call it street talk is what I call it. You have to be able to talk to people.
That's right.
And so that's what I've done with this book. I didn't write it for doctors. I wrote it for the public. When I did my videos, I did it for the public. So, and it's a free. All you have to do is go in and register, and it's free on each chapter for 20 minutes about brain health, gut health, all of that. So, I'm going to be in Conroe, Texas, at the end of this month. The end of February. I'm going to be doing a peripheral neuropathy 2-day seminar dealing with metabolic care and neuropathy and how to stimulate these pathways and help people with neuropathy. And people will get a certification. It's accredited to the National University of Health Science. And also on February the 23rd, I will be giving a TEDx talk in New Albany, Ohio, which is just outside of Columbus, Ohio. And it's going to be on metabolic syndrome. And so, what I'll do is I can just send you the link, and then we can send that out to everybody.
Yeah, right.
And so they can get they can understand, because this metabolic syndrome literally is. I mean, I know in the nation 34% of Americans have metabolic syndrome, but I mean it's worse than that in Mississippi. So
absolutely. Well,
and then I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely. Well, look, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, absolutely. On this episode of Telehealth Tuesday. Next week, we are going to have, oh, by the way, before I go into that, Dr. Barlow, you want to tell the folks where in Tupelo where you are so they can find you?
Yeah, there's a couple of things you can do for, you can go online and you can go to the Barlow Brain and Body, barlowbrainandbody.com. I'm sorry, barlowbrainandbody.com. That's my consulting business, but that's more for doctors. But for individuals, you can go to cnctupelo.com. That's my website for my clinic in Tupelo, Mississippi. And again, my cell phone number, I'm not my cell phone number, but my office number is on there. And if you have any questions, by all means, you can leave Nikki and Sandy a question, or you just leave them your phone number, and I'll do my best to call everybody back, by the end of the day. And with any health questions that you have, in any way I can serve you or refer you to specific people, doctors that can help you. Or let me say Jasmine, I can, might be able to send you to her, because well, the more I learn about what she does, then the more, we can assist each other. I think it's the reason we don't refer to other people is we don't know enough about that specialty.
Absolutely.
You don't want to put your name on somebody that you don't know, and I don't want to put my name on something that I don't know, or I don't know somebody or whatever. So, and it's just that interconnectedness that we need to have in the healthcare field. So, those are the two ways that people can contact me. If you have any questions, my office number, I'll just give it to you, 662-844-1414. That's 662-844-1414. And again, if you can't call me at 5 o'clock and then go, "Hey, Dr. Barlow, you didn't call me back today." You need to call me earlier in the day, so you can give me a chance to catch my breath, and then I'll call you back before the end of the day, before the end of the work day. Let's put it that way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, indeed. So, and like I was saying, next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m., we're going to have Mr. Jonathan Bounds, who is an amazing, I don't want to just say trainer, because I know he's more than that. He's a motivator, trainer. He does a lot of great things in the community, but I think his bread and butter, he is one of the most sought after fitness trainers and experts in Jackson, Mississippi. He's going to be there. I think maybe about 60 or 70,000 followers or something like that. So we're excited to have Mr. Jonathan Bounds next week. We're supposed to be with a health and beauty expert, so that's going to be determined, because we're having to swap something out. We're still working on that part. But yours truly will be there to host, God willing. So again, thank you for watching Telehealth Tuesday. As always, we love our fantastic audience participation each and every week. So with that said, join us next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Bring a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to Dr. B TV. Thank you to all our wonderful folks who have joined us, that are watching with us, our supporters. And thank you to my friend and colleague, Dr. Stidwell, who I know you know very well.
Absolutely.
Dr. Barlow.
Amazing person.
Absolutely. And so if you're here in Jackson, and if you're not able to get to Tupelo, I know that she'll be happy to see you for all those similar needs at Good Faith Wellness Center. And so again, God willing, we'll see you on a Tuesday. This is the place where we treat and discuss mind, body, and soul. And remember, true wealth begins with good health. Bye for now. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Bookhardt. Come join us at our newest clinic location at Good Faith Wellness Center. We provide compassionate health care for your entire family, from virtual visits to office appointments. We're committed to providing the best care. We accept all insurances, and we provide monthly wellness plans. Let's start your family journey to a healthier, happier life. Schedule your appointment today, and remember, true wealth begins with good health.